Greetings. Once again, we connect to further our learnings. And the next topic that we will be going and indulging in is going to be about workflows. So let's go and spend some time trying to understand what a workflow is, how it can be useful in our day-to-day automation activities. So that would be the focus. That would be the something that you would like to understand in advance. So a workflow, basically, to put it in a nutshell, allows me to create complex business processes by combining two or more tasks that we would already have in advance. There could be conditions that you might want to keep in. There could be different flows. You can design the flow over there. You can visualize the flow. Yeah, you can plan the flow of action. So it's basically a visual environment wherein we already have some tasks at hand, which we want to put together, connect together, based on maybe certain conditions and criterias, and get a larger flow of control, get a bigger picture accomplished. So that's basically where the workflow fits into the scheme of things. So with that in mind, let's go forward and create a workflow, understand what a workflow is all about. So first and foremost, we will go in and let's create some tasks, because workflow basically is a combination of tasks which are already existent. So we will go and try to understand different facets of the workflow using this particular demonstration that we are about to indulge in. So I am going to first and foremost click on add over here, and we are going to go and create a variable which I will name as task1 underscore variable 1. So I have a task with me, and within that task I have created a variable by the name of task1 underscore variable 1. I can go and copy the contents of the name, and I'm going to paste the same thing in the value section also, and I'm going to go and save it. So that's my first variable that I've created. Going forward, next thing what we would like to do is let's go and throw this value of this particular variable that we have just created on the screen. So I'm going to just say task1 variable 1. So if I look at the caption over here, it's quite self-explanatory that I am inside task1 and I am currently displaying the value of variable 1 within that task. Same thing I am putting in the message box also, within which we are going in and giving a label as in task1 variable 1, and following that we are proceeding to display the value of this variable. So that is basically the game plan at hand. So right now, if I go and execute this particular script, it will show me the value of this variable as task1 variable 1 only. Why? Because that is what we have assigned to this variable at the moment. But if we ultimately go forward and pass down the value of this particular pass down the value into this particular variable from our calling workflow, then it will not be this value that we have given that will be displayed over here, but it will display the value of the workflow variable whose value we would have passed into this variable over here. So that is something that we are trying to see, that how we can pass down the value of a workflow level variable into a task and see the same over here. So we will see that aspect wherein we will be able to see that this value of this local task variable will get overwritten by the value of the workflow level variable whose value we will pass in at runtime. Now once the value, whatever it was, the current value of this variable or the value that came in from the workflow is displayed, we want to further override that value. So the value that came in, we will go and override that value. So I'm going to say that my variable task1 variable 1, whatever the value it has, I am going to override that value with the help of this overwritten keyword, and I'm going to say overwritten, and then I am going to just call that uh, variable over here. So what happens is that my variable's value gets assigned, gets as we said, I will say that this string overwritten will precede the value of my task1 variable one's value, and that gets kind of added as like a prefix over here. So idea is to showcase that even though the value may have of the local variable may have got overwritten by the workflow variable, again in the following lines it is possible to change that value also. So that's what we are trying to showcase next. So again I'm going to take this message box over here and I'm going to paste it, and here I am going to go and precede this with the overwritten keyword. So I'm going to say overwritten. That means to showcase that this value is the overwritten value over here. I'm just going to precede this with the overwritten keyword. It's good to have meaningful captions in your message boxes when you are running a workflow, because otherwise it's very difficult to understand that where we are at this point, what is happening. So from that perspective, it's good to have meaningful inputs. So I've preceded this with the overwritten keyword, as you can see. And last but not the least, what we would like to do is we would like to assign some value to this variable. So I'm going to say variable operation, and I'm saying task1 variable 1 is, let's say, equal to 1. So whatever the values were, we are going to whitewash it and maybe remove it, as I would say, and put 1 over there. And also we are going to take this variable operation and we are going to say this clipboard variable, we will assign a value, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 to the clipboard also. So assign a value 2 to the clipboard variable. So I go and do that also. So variable operation 1 goes to task1 variable 1, variable operation 2 goes to the clipboard. Now task1 variable 1, as you can see, the workflow, when you are assigning a value to a workflow variable, it's a two-way direction. It goes both ways. So value goes from the workflow into the task level variable also, and also at the end of this game, the task1 variable 1's modified value will be escalated back into the workflow variable to which it was assigned to. And last but not the least, we are assigning 2 to the clipboard, so that because clipboard is basically it's a system variable. It's something which can persist even after a script finishes execution. So it can exist long after this script finished execution. So it's a ideal candidate for being used like a global variable, and that is something that we will try to showcase over here. So I'm going to go and save this one, give it a name as not this one, we will give it a name as workflow, and this is task1 variable task1. This is my first task, so task1 of my workflow. Oops, cannot have that. So task1, probably we'll let it be at that. So that's my first task at hand, which we have just done. And then we will go and do an almost copy of this, create a new script wherein I am going to again go and first of all paste all these lines. We had a variable over here, task1 variable 1, which I can copy, and here I'll click on this and paste it. And this I will change it to, so this was task1 variable 1. This I am going to edit it to task2 variable 1. So task2 variable 1, task2 variable 1. So here also in this entire script we will replace this task1 with task2, task1 with task2, task1 with task2, and then variable operation overwritten. Again here I will say my task2 variable 1 is overwritten plus task2 variable 1. That's what it is all about. Message box overridden task 2. Here also we will go with task 2. Here also we will all go and make it task 2. Save it. And here I'm going to say task 2, variable 1 has this value 1. And clipboard we will say has a value 3. So some change over here. It's basically the same script with a slight change in the name of the task. In the variable's name has changed from task1 to task2. Everything practically remains the same. At the end of the first one, we had assigned 2 to the clipboard. Here we are assigning 3 to the clipboard. So that's one more change that we have effected, which you want to showcase. And here I'm going to go and save this one also, where I will go and say workflow underscore task 2. So that's our second task going in over there. This is basically what we want to showcase. So fast, so good, as I would say. What's next? Now we will create two very simple tasks. The purpose is just to showcase that this workflow was a success or a failure. Nothing beyond that. It's something like flags indicating success and failure. Nothing beyond that. So I click on new over here and take a message box over here, to which I will go and say something like success achieved, and I can just go and copy this one. So success achieved, this one, and I'm going to go and paste it here also. Success achieved. Save it. Save the script. Give it a name as workflow success, and one more new, or I can just copy this and paste. Success achieved, success I can say not achieved, something like that, not achieved. So just some kind of markers indicating that you are successful in our endeavors or we failed accordingly. Just going and bring this up and save this. So this was workflow success, and this accordingly would be workflow failure, and I'm going to go and save it. So that goes and takes care of some groundwork that we needed to do before we could start go and building our workflows. So we did just went and accomplished that. Proceeding further, next thing what you want to do is you want to go back inside our workflows over here and start creating a workflow. So let's go and start making a workflow. So I click on new workflow, and this opens our workflow designer over here. As we can see, this has gone and opened. First and foremost, what you want to do is you want to create two variables. One is task1 variable 1, and the second is task2 variable 1, to which we can assign some values. So these are my workflow level variables, which I am going to be going and creating over here inside the workflow designer. So how to get in over here? You can go inside workflows. If you have some workflows already there for you, you can choose them, or you can choose new workflow. And that goes and brings us into a workflow designer. As we can see, as we have guessed, it's a visual environment where we can drag and drop and keep stuff. Now here we have two variables that we would like to create. One is task1 variable 1, second is task2 variable 1. So create the variables, add them, task1 variable 1, and I want to copy this, and I'm going to precede the value of this variable with workflow keyword, and that did not work out well. Copy this. So workflow task1 variable 1, that's my first value, add workflow task 2 variable 1, that's my second value, and my second variable was named task 2 variable 1, so I'll just go and give that over here, and that creates our two variables. Task 1 variable 1 and task 2 variable 1, two variables that we have created over here. That's what we wanted. Going further, next thing what we want to do is we want to now go and create some scripts, create some flow over here. So you can see these are local variables. So here I made some workflow level local variables. These variables, as you would have already understand, would have a scope limited to the workflow. These variables will come to life as soon as the workflow begins execution, and they will finish. They will cease to exist once the workflow is about to finish execution. If you look at show system variables, you can see over here date time, loop, Excel, email, trigger, and system. So these are a couple of system variables. Out of all of these, you can see the date variable is one which can be formatted. So we have got different formats of the date variable which are available at our disposal, and we can choose any of these as per our requirements. We can go and do that. So that's the date format for us. Similarly, we have variables such as looping. So we'll be going ahead and looping over Excel and other environments, and you'll be seeing how these variables will come to use. Excel, should you want to work with Excel. Emailing, different variables related to different aspects of emailing. Trigger, you can trigger some action should you wish to. And system, this is last but not the least related to system related information, which user logged in, what was the installation path, and things like that. All those things are captured over here. So I can go and close this, and that brings us back to the workflow designer. So now we have couple of tasks that we have made, and we have kept them open. So we will start with the first task. So let's begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say start, because that's how you begin anything, and you call run task command. So run the task. Which task do you want to call? So demo, we are going to call the workflow task 1. Workflow task 1. Once you call it, you can assign variables. So I'm going to say this task 1 variable is going to be assigned to again task 1 variable. So task 1 variable, the value of task 1 variable 1 of the workflow will go and override its value into the task 1 variable 1 of this concerned task. That's what is going to happen, and we will be seeing that action happening in a moment's time. So I'm going to go and save it. If this is successful, then we want to go and check a couple of things before we go ahead. If it is successful, we want to check the value of certain variables. What values do we want to check? A, task 1 variable 1 should be 1 and clipboard should be 2. So what happens is, if you look at this association, this is two ways. So at the end of this execution, the value of this task 1 variable 1, to which we are assigning 1 within the task, should send back its value into this workflow variable task 1 variable 1 of the same name, and that should get a value as 1. So that's the first thing that we will check over here. So we're going to say if variable, and the variable in perspective, if task 1 variable 1 is equal to 1. That's the first thing. Second thing was you assigned 2 to the clipboard. So that's the second condition you want to check. Match all add. Let's say F2 clipboard is equal to 2. If both these conditions are true, that means two things. A, the clipboard exists even after the script finishes execution. B, the value of this variable task1 variable 1 within this task, we were able to send it back to this task1 variable within the workflow. That is what is we are trying to assert in two things. If this also is true, we go and call another run task command, and this time we are going to call the second task. More or less the same set of actions will undertake here also. So I'm going to say workflow task2, association of the variables, this time task2 variable goes in task2, and that so workflow task2. So we are basically going and calling the second task this time, and it has one unsuccessful arrow coming again. Here again we will go and check at the end of this, all this we will come and check what if else variable. This time what we are doing in the second task, we are saying task2 variable 1 should be 1 and clipboard should be 3. So that's two level of checks. Task2 variable 1 should be equal to 1, and what else? Add match all, and clipboard is equal to 3. So if all this is true, then we are going to call a run task command over here and point to our success task. So here we are going to say workflow success. And if per se it did not meet both these conditions, or one of them was false, then we are again going to call this workflow success and workflow failure. So both tasks being called as per situation at hand. So now all these open-ended arrows, we should close them with an end. So I'm putting an end over here, put an end over here, put an end over here, and we keep going forward, and it goes over here and goes over here, once more, and goes over here, and over there. So that completes our workflow. So we've done all the associations. Time to go and save this script. Workflow, excuse me. Workflow demo data flow, validate it, success, and run it. So now we'll keep the script open. First of all, it should come into this message box. I should see task1 variable 1 happening, the runtime window opening, and the replaying workflow window. As you can see, this is, so you can see it was supposed to show us this value, task1 variable 1, but what value it is showing? It is showing you workflow 1 task1 variable 1. Why? Because here we have assigned this to that variable. So this variable went and overrode this variable as we forecasted. Click on it. Now that gets overwritten with the overwritten keyword, and then it will assign 1 to this and 2 to the clipboard. And if both these conditions are successfully checked, it will come into the second task. So you can see the value of task1 variable 1 over here did translate to 1, and the value of clipboard was 2. What does that mean? That means over here this value went back to the workflow level variable. It was able to send back values. So not only can this variable of the task level receive values from the workflow variable, it can send back values also. That was the first check, that whether task one variable one is within the workflow is one or not. And second, the clipboard variable is, it's pointing towards system clipboard area. So hence it is able to retain this value even after this task finished. And now we are inside the second task. So I can again go and see this value, which was originally task2 variable 1 inside the call task, has now got overwritten with this value that we passed in. Again, within this script, we have the overwritten keyword flashing by. And then again, if 1 is assigned to task2 variable 1 and 3 is assigned to the clipboard over clipboard variable, that is what is being checked in the second if condition. That is the task2 variable 1 equal to 1. Now this task2 variable 1 is not this one within this task, but this one. So the value went back to it from the task level variable, and both these conditions evaluated 2. So clipboard was also 3, because last but not the least we were saying clipboard to 3. So that value also persisted and we were able to get these desired results. Now to showcase deliberately, what we will do is this last condition, instead of 3 I will make it 4. So this last condition, I have, instead of 3 I have made it 4. And now we will go and run it once more and see what happens. So now if I go and run it, everything should happen same as before. You'll get to see the same set of message boxes and everything about to be created by this one. But at the end you will get failure, because the last if condition will evaluate to false. So that's the first message box, then the overwritten, and then this if condition will also, first if condition over here is also true. We have not done any change over here. Reaches inside the second task, where we are seeing the first message box coming in, and then the overwritten will come in. Here we are assigning 1 to this first variable and 4 to the clipboard. But here inside the workflow we are checking for clipboard equal to 3. The second condition will become false and we will get failure this time. Success not received. So this was just to show the dynamics of how we can pass value from workflow to task, and how that can come back from task to workflow. A, by direct usage of this two-way variable association, and B, we also saw how you can use clipboard as the global variable, and also we made a small flow of control using these controls, using these run tasks and if conditions that we brought in to create this small scenario. So that was something about the workflow which I wanted to bring to everybody's kind attention, and I do hope everybody is good and comfortable till this point. So until next time, thank you.